The trade war between the United States and the European Union has escalated. President Donald Trump has threatened to impose a 200% tariff on European alcohol. This includes popular beverages like wine and champagne. This aggressive move comes after the EU announced a 50% retaliatory tariff on U.S. spirits, such as bourbon. This trade battle is causing anxiety in the global market. The heart of the issue lies in the tariffs imposed by the Trump administration on steel and aluminum imports. These tariffs, implemented in 2018, were met with immediate retaliation from the EU. The EU targeted $28 billion worth of American goods, including iconic products like Harley-Davidson motorcycles and Kentucky bourbon. This trade war has far-reaching implications, impacting both sides of the Atlantic. It has created uncertainty for businesses, consumers, and policymakers. The situation remains fluid with no clear end in sight. The potential for further escalation is a real concern for all parties involved. President Trump's threat to impose a 200% tariff on European alcohol has sent shockwaves through the industry. This would significantly increase the price of European wines and spirits for American consumers. Such a move could cripple the European alcohol industry, particularly in countries like France and Italy, which heavily rely on the U.S. market. The EU's 50% retaliatory tariff on U.S. spirits is a direct response to the steel and aluminum tariffs. This tariff specifically targets American whiskey, a move that could cost the U.S. spirits industry billions of dollars in lost revenue. The EU's decision to target bourbon, a product deeply ingrained in American culture and history, is seen as a strategic move to inflict maximum economic and symbolic damage. This tit-for-tat exchange of tariffs has created a climate of uncertainty and fear in the global trade arena. Businesses on both sides of the Atlantic are bracing for the worst, fearing the long-term consequences of this escalating trade war. The potential for job losses and economic hardship is a very real concern. The situation is further complicated by the fact that both the US and the EU are major trading partners. This interdependence makes the current trade war particularly damaging, as both sides have much to lose. The lack of a clear path towards resolution only adds to the anxiety and uncertainty. The escalating trade war has already begun to impact the global market. The S&P 500, a key indicator of the U.S. stock market's health, has fallen into correction territory. It has dropped 10% from its all-time high just 3 weeks ago, signaling investor concern over the trade war's potential to derail global economic growth. The alcohol industry, caught in the crossfire, is particularly vulnerable. French winemakers, who export $2.5 billion worth of wine to the U.S. annually, are deeply concerned. The French trade minister has vowed to fight back against Trump's threats, highlighting the French government's determination to protect its vital wine industry. Italian winemakers, the second largest exporters to the U.S. with $2.3 billion in annual sales, are similarly worried. The Unione Italiana Vini, a leading Italian wine association, predicts that Trump's tariffs could cost their industry a staggering $1.1 billion. These losses could have a devastating impact on small and medium-sized wineries that rely heavily on the American market. The U.S. spirits industry is also feeling the heat. Chris Swanger, CEO of the Distilled Spirits Council, expressed concern over the tariffs, stating, "We want toasts, not tariffs." He emphasized the long-standing zero-for-zero tariff agreement between the U.S. and EU on spirits, which has been in place since 1997. This agreement, a testament to the mutually beneficial trade relationship, is now under threat. The future of U.S.-EU trade relations hangs in the balance as the tariff war escalates. The EU has called on the U.S. to revoke the steel and aluminum tariffs and has expressed a willingness to negotiate a solution. However, with President Trump known for his unpredictable and often aggressive trade tactics, the path forward remains unclear. The potential consequences of this trade war are significant. A 200% tariff on European wine could effectively eliminate French wine imports to the U.S., according to Justin Wolfers, an economics professor at the University of Michigan. Such a development would not only hurt French winemakers, but also deprive American consumers of access to some of the world's finest wines. The trade war also threatens to damage the long-standing political and economic alliance between the U.S. and the EU. This alliance, forged over decades of cooperation, is now strained by the current trade dispute. The lack of trust and goodwill makes finding a mutually agreeable solution all the more challenging. The situation remains fluid, and the outcome of this trade war is uncertain. While both sides have much to lose from a protracted trade conflict, the path to de-escalation remains elusive. The coming months will be critical in determining whether the US and the EU can find a way to bridge their differences and restore their once thriving trade relationship. Like, subscribe and click that notification button for more breaking news.